For the third time this year, we are live on the HD Radio Network. This is the ETV Live Pit Report. Myself, Kyle Taraska, with Josh Gerlach, here to bring all the news and action for you again. Special guest for tonight, Justin Boston, ARCA Racing Series driver for Venturini Motorsports, and Aaron Groskopf of DisabledRacers.com. Josh, we got a full show ahead of us tonight.
That we do, and again, as always, you can contact us on Twitter at ETV Pit Report, on Facebook at ETV Live. Also, get us on the TuneIn Radio app on the HD Radio Network at hdradionetwork.com, etv-eplay.net, and also give us a call at 1-317-489-9388.
And we will do our best to answer, I'm going to do my best to answer the calls. If you listened to the show last week, we had a little bit of technical error. That's what we'll call it.
I call it user error. But
well, Josh, you call whatever the hell you want, but we got it all figured out for this week, I can promise you that. So on a side note, Josh, did you watch the Super Bowl last weekend?
I did. It was a pretty good show, even though the lights were out for a little bit. Still was a great game. Well,
they lose their lights, we lose jet dryers. That's just how it goes. So
we lose our callers, everything. It just comes full circle.
That's how it goes here on the TV Live Pit Report. But so this week we're going to start the show off in light of the Super Bowl and how everyone refers to the Daytona 500 as the Super Bowl of racing, or at least of NASCAR. Should the Daytona 500 be the last race of the season, like traditional stick and ball sports, or should it continue to be the first race of the season? As it has been for many years, even though it was not always the first race of the season?
That's a tough question to answer, because if you look at different even just motorsports, the Indy 500, that's roughly in the middle of the season for IndyCar. If you move it, I think for purists, NASCAR purists, it would be a cardinal sin to move it, just because you think of the Daytona 500 now, you always think it's the first race of the season. It's in February. So, in my opinion, it probably would not be a good idea to move it.
Yeah, I don't see any advantage in having it. It's been this time of year, February, for the whole history of the 55-year running of the race. And I say it's not always been the first race of the year. Back, I know in the 70s and 80s, they used to go out in California, Riverside, back in January, before they'd come out to Daytona. And I think I heard on Sirius XM earlier in the week that in 1962, when the season used to start in November, there were 6 races before they actually went out to Daytona. But to stick with tradition, I think how the sport has, this is a perfect time of year. It doesn't overlap with really any other sports. I mean, with no disrespect to hockey, with their own, even though they got their own problems in the NBA and college basketball. Once the Super Bowl's over in the first week of February, there's a big gap there for like a major sporting event to fill in, and the 500 does that perfectly with Speed Weeks.
Well, too, like you were saying, I'm just pulling up the schedule too, because they start in February. You can't really start in a Midwest race or a Midwest track, just because the weather is a big factor. I mean, if you look at the schedule, there's not really a race up in the upper half of the United States until, I guess you could probably call Bristol. That's probably the closest. But then you would have to go all the way up until April, when they go to Martinsville for the first time for the Cup Series, before they're actually in a cold weather area where they're actually probably going to end up getting pounded with some snow this weekend, it sounds. But I think the southern swing of the beginning of the season is a big part of it too, just because starting in February, you have to factor in the weather.
And here's how I look at it. And again, listen to Sirius XM with Trade and Paint, Chocolate Myers and Rick Benjamin this week. Chocolate made a good point, saying that the Daytona 500, it has enough going on in it, and the event itself has enough prestige where they don't need a championship battle on the line. Like the World Series, you go there to win the championship. The Super Bowl is all about the championship, but the Daytona
Homestead.
500... Yeah, exactly.
Homestead's kind of become that fixture too for the championship.
Right, and it's just the Speed Weeks. It's 12 days in Daytona. And I've been there plenty of times, as I'm going in a couple of weeks. When you're down there, you feel like that whole Speed Weeks deal is a season by itself. Like you have the season in Daytona, then when they go to Phoenix the week after, then the real season starts for NASCAR. So it's a different. This isn't a stick and ball sport. This is NASCAR. This is auto racing. This is 100% different, unique from any other sport that we watch. And I think NASCAR has it right. I hope they don't. I'm upset that they changed the date from President's Day weekend. I liked having that weekend slot better. But, I mean, whatever they got to do, they got to do. And I think NASCAR has it in a good spot right now.
I agree, and I mean, in the future it may change, but I mean, it's just like you said, it's sticking to tradition, and keeping it going the way it is now is probably the best call. I mean, especially now that they have the preseason Thunder back and everything too. I mean, you have most of February. I guess now actually it's a little bit in January, but most of February you're being spent in Daytona, so it's a cool atmosphere, and I'd love to be down there at some point in the future.
So here's another idea then. So say we don't move to Daytona 500 to the end of the year. What if we move the July race to the end of the year? You start just like how the NHRA guys do it in Pomona, California. You start the year in Daytona, you end the year in Daytona. How's that idea? Because I've heard that's been thrown around a couple of times this week as well.
Yeah, that's iffy because I mean, to end the season on a restrictor plate track, that's
Yes.
kind of.
I agree.
Kind of tricky because you have the excitement factor and the unknown going into that race. That would be great for press and everything, but I just don't think looking at it from a racing standpoint, that would be a very good decision. I mean, in the past, you know, the race for the championship has been pretty good at Homestead. So, I mean, right now, if it's not broke, don't fix it is kind of my opinion on everything.
I wish that was NASCAR's opinion on everything because they've tried to fix non-broken things many times and they've shot themselves in the foot, one being the Southern 500 on Labor Day weekend in Darlington when they moved out to California in 105-degree heat trying to attract that fan base when they knew they never would anyway. But,
well, I think we've touched on that plenty of times. It all comes down to the almighty dollar. And,
right.
And I mean, that's what's ultimately going to be driving everything.
For sure on that. And again, our phone lines are open. We're answering your tweets if you have any questions, comments, or concerns on what we're talking about. Right now we're talking about having a Daytona 500 as the last race of the season or having any race at Daytona to finish the year off, to start and end the year at Daytona. To continue on what we're talking about, and like what you were saying, not to have the championship come down to a restrictor plate race. Think about what happened at Talladega in October with Tony Stewart, and that literally took the whole field out except for about 2 or 3 cars at the end because they were ahead of the wreck. Imagine if Brad Keselowski was the points leader, come all the way going into turn 4, and then some guy pulls a bonehead move like that, takes everybody out, and Jimmy Johnson, who was half the track back, drives through the wreck because he was nowhere near it, out of contention to win, and he ends up winning the championship. Like, that's just like a dirty way to win.
Well, I don't like that either, and I don't think any drivers would like that too. And that's kind of the nice thing about how there's the plate race about halfway through the chase is if you do have a bad race, I mean, you can bounce back from it. You don't have to worry about everything being on the line because, you know, if you do come down and you're within 20 points of the lead there, I mean, that, like you said, that's just one big wreck away from putting you from 6th in the point standings to winning it, and I don't think that would be a great way to have the championship decided just from a reputation standpoint. That would just not look good for NASCAR, I don't think. Yeah,
and like I know how you touched on it before with Homestead, kind of like securing that last race spot for now, even though Bruton Smith says otherwise, but he's a whole other story. I like the setting there. It's in South Beach. It's Miami. It's a good setting, and the main thing I like about the track is that they only race there one time a year. The only time they race there is for the championship race. It's not like they could refer to, because notes change year to year, so it kind of keeps all the teams up on their toes for that last race. And not so much that a fan sees from a perspective of the grandstand or watching on TV, but it really keeps the teams on top of things, and it really adds to the excitement at the end of the year.
Yeah, it does, and I have one other thing too that that was just released recently from NASCAR too is the manufacturers where they have the drivers' names now on this Gen 6 car that's going to be debuting this year. They're starting to put the manufacturer's logos.
Yeah, so I saw that. Yep.
That'll help with the manufacturer recognition even more than what it will now, and I think that's a nice touch that'll kind of help out with identifying the makes of the cars. Yeah, they just added that on this week. I think they had some Auto Week hosted some type of breakfast luncheon with NASCAR and everyone out in Detroit, and Sunoco Road to Daytona. I know they're sponsoring some type of deal here before the season kicks off in Daytona.
So I know they were just up in New York today, up my way, and they're getting the hell out of here before the big blizzard comes tomorrow. But yeah, that's definitely a plus. Anything for brand identification, driver identification. I mean, I think personally, as a longtime fan, I think it looks cool, and I think it's a plus for the new fans too. It's just another way to help identify their driver and their manufacturer.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, it'll be nice for the manufacturer recognition. Just it's another thing, I guess, for a money standpoint too. You can kind of see where they're going with it, but it's a nice touch. I think it'll make the make of the car stand out more, obviously, but I like it.
Yeah, and like I know we've been saying it every week. We've been touching on Daytona, this, that, and everything. There's a lot of excitement, even from stuff that I've been reading in columns and everything. There's so much to talk. This isn't like a lame duck year where like you're going into this season and you have
a
like
lot of unknowns.
Yeah, you have like nothing to talk about. We have everything to talk about this year leading up. I mean, this off season has gone by so fast. Just between all the testing with the new car and like what you said, the unknowns, and then always presenting new stuff like last minute thing just with this manufacturer logo on, just little stuff like that, but it gives us stuff to talk about. And then I know we touched on the other week with the new jet dryer system, even though they're not really jet dryers anymore, to dry a track like Daytona 2.5 mile super speedway under an hour. I think they're aiming for 30 to 40 minutes. It's just crazy. And it's going to be a big year of unknown. I think this beginning of the year is going to be very intense to see who hits on the new car first. Daytona is going to be a crapshoot as always. We're still not 100% sure how the draft's going to work because with that wreck that they had trying to tandem down in testing in January, but at the same time, when they went back to the shops, I'm sure the first thing they did was try to figure out a way to get around that. So it's going to be a very interesting year. We'll touch on it more in the show, but Josh, you're going to tell us what's coming up in segment number 2.
Yeah, coming up here next after the break, we do, like Kyle said earlier, we have Justin Boston, the driver for Venturini Motorsports in the upcoming ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards season, and also Aaron Grosskopf of DisabledRacers.com. He's a great story and is really working for a great cause. He'll be able to touch on that more here in just a bit. But again, before we go to break, you can give us a ring at 1-317-489-9388 following our chat with Aaron and Justin. If you have any questions too, feel free to give us a ring. Also tweet us at ETV Pit Report, and also Kyle and I at K_Taraska and at Josh_Gerlach. We'll be right back on the Pit Report here on the HD Radio Network.
Sponsored by Bob Earl Racing, VRC Virtual Racing Chassis, Breeders' Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series returns to ETV Live in 2013 every Monday night, 9:20 p.m. Eastern. A full 36-week season. Join Mike Keaton and Wesley Allen as they call the action from the booth, and Dakota Ehrman reporting from pit road. Strap in and buckle down, Cowboy. 2013 Full Throttle Cup Series on Monday night is back in the saddle again. Flag-to-flag coverage provided by ETV Live, the only choice for your online racing broadcast entertainment. See us at etv-eplay.net. Coming to ATV Live Super Speedway Cup Series brings some new and exciting racing entertainment on Friday night. In shootout style, drivers compete in hot lap heat races to qualify for the feature event. Drivers run in 3 heat races, then on to the Dash for Cash 15-lap showdown, and then ramp it up as they move on to the B main and A main feature event. Word has it they give the flagmen the night off, so no cautions, Cowboy. Buckle in and sit back and hold on tight. You're in for a night of fun racing entertainment once again, brought to you live by ETV Live, your online autosports entertainment network, etv-eplay.net.
Welcome back to the Pit Report here on the HD Radio Network, brought to you by ETV Live. You can listen to us at etv-eplay.net. We are here with a few guests now. You can give us a call at 1-317-489-9388 and interact with us here, Kyle, if you want to introduce our guests that we have today.
And these guests, in fact, are the names that we've mentioned about 20 times during the first segment, Justin Boston and Aaron Grosskopf. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us.
Right on, man. So, I just met you guys a couple of weeks ago, and I was really enlightened. And if you guys just want to talk about how you guys met, and we'll talk about the whole cause and other stuff with the racing season coming up this year in 2013.
And you want to take this first?
Nah, you go ahead, Jeff.
It was kind of interesting how Aaron and I got together. As you guys probably know, I have a pretty good background in iRacing. I've been on it probably since mid-2009. And I spent a lot of time on iRacing, especially in my off seasons. And Aaron sent me a Facebook message one day, out of the blue. I had never met him before, never heard of him, and he just sent me this. Basically, he just told me who he was, and he sent me this video of himself on the news, and it really struck a chord with me as to what he goes through on a day-to-day basis as a person, and it kind of started from there. And one thing led to another. We started talking to each other through Facebook and phone calls, and now we can call each other friends. And it's only been a couple months since we first contacted each other. It's been pretty cool to have Aaron there and be able to talk to him and have him as a friend, really.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, I mean, just being friends with somebody that's climbing up the NASCAR ranks, it means a lot to me. I've never had a friend that that's big into NASCAR before, and being able to race with them online and contact them anytime I want, that was a great deal. And then we got together about a month after we started talking and becoming friends. We started a racing league on iRacing, All-Star Sim Series. We run the late models, and we got some funding for that thanks to Justin. And that's what we do. Once a week we run a league, and I mean, Justin's friendship means a lot to me to begin with. Just the way it all happened, and now I guess you could say we're the best of friends.
And then together now you're forming, which Aaron, you've been in close contact when we talk almost every day now. We've made a good friendship here. DisabledRacers.com. Just emphasize on that and tell us just everything what it's all about.
Yeah, well, I was sitting here thinking one day, and there's really, I mean, the disabled people, they want to find something to do. Being disabled, we can't really do a whole lot as far as like activities. I started sim racing, and first of all, when you start sim racing, it's very hard to find equipment that you could, much less drive with your hands like you would a real car when you're disabled. And it was real hard for me to find the equipment. Luckily, I found some people that were able to give me, custom steering wheel, and got me set up racing. But what I'm trying to do with the site is to bring attention to if there's disabled people that race in real life or disabled people, that want to start sim racing, have them somewhere to go where they can be able to talk to people that are sim racers or that race in real life about how to get started in either way, and just have somewhere where people can find equipment.
And then, see, I think that's awesome to, I know, Josh, you do too, to raise awareness like that, because there are disabled racers out there that they want to go out there and race. The perfect example, Shane Meal, he just, after his vicious wreck a couple years ago, he was back in a car at Rockingham, I think, testing. So it's just to hear stories like this and then to hear stories like that, it really puts a bigger emphasis on this topic, and it really raises awareness.
Yeah, it does, and I mean, like you kind of highlighted on that, Aaron, it could be tough. I mean, you don't really, there's really probably no place that you can find just something on the market for that. What kind of equipment are you using that helps you be able to race?
Currently, I'm basically running two wheels at one time. I got a G25 that was given to me by Richard Falkenberg from Lane Sim Products, and Charlie from Sim Racing Wheels gave me a quick release mount, and then another guy of mine lent me some money to buy the Sim Raceway wheel, which I got mounted to the G25, and it's a F1 style wheel with gas and brake and stuff like that. So I mean, it's variable, just like your gas pedals. It's just you can use your hand.
So Justin, because I know, and you're good friends with Aaron, and you're talking about how you made the friendship with him, which I think is one of the feel-good stories of the year. And how are you involved with DisabledRacers.com, and what's like your part involved to raise awareness to present what Aaron is doing as well?
I would say my biggest part in helping Aaron and the whole Disabled Racers organization would definitely have to be helping promote as far as my driving and, wearing apparel or anything like that to help spread awareness. If I can get just one person off the TV, watching the race off the couch and get on iRacing to start and get them connected, I think that's a victory in itself. But I'm going to do everything I can to help this cause, because I really think it's something that is probably one of the most untouched areas in sim racing still, because there's so many people out there that are wounded or disabled that could do something as awesome as what we do every day, but they don't have the tools necessary to do that, and that's what Aaron and everybody's trying to bring awareness out and start getting people able to run iRacing and other platforms on their computers.
1-317-489-9388. If you have any questions for Justin or Aaron, the phone lines are wide open. So let's talk, not to take anything away from the Disabled Racers.
And real quick, too, Kyle, to visit the site, it is DisabledRacers.com is where you can visit that. There also is a Facebook page made for that, and at Disabled Racers on Twitter. You can be sure to like their page and also follow them on Twitter.
It's a pretty awesome site. I don't know if any of you guys check it, any of our listeners, when you go home, if you listen in the car, check it out. Take 2 seconds. It's a pretty awesome site. But not to take away from anything like that, but let's just talk about, Justin, your plans with 2013, and how Aaron said it's awesome for him to talk to someone and have a relationship with someone that's coming up through the NASCAR ranks. So how did you get involved with racing and then coming up through the NASCAR ranks? I know you've run late models, and now you're going to be full-time ARCA this year with Venerini, and just talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think the cars kind of came about when I was almost 17 when I really got into the cars, and I actually started on 2 wheels. I raced motocross actually at the national level until I was about 13, and I didn't wreck a lot, but everyone knows how dangerous that sport is, and when you lay the bike down, things tend to break, and I started getting injured a lot, and my parents forced me off the bike. Regardless of my skill level, they couldn't see me get hurt anymore, so I really went out of the racing scene until I was about 17, and I actually went to a race at Dover. It was a truck race, and I remember watching that, and I was all I could think about was, man, I can do this, and this is what I want to do, and it kind of, that was just an amazing experience in my racing career, to go to that race and, sit inside the track and watch how everything went down, and that's what really kicked off my desire to get into a car. Not to mention, parents, they're happy to have a roll cage around me, for sure.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
But shortly after, I actually did a driving school at Rockingham, and I just kind of wanted to see if I liked it, and if I was, if I liked it, and I really wanted to do it. Went and did the Buddy Baker driving school, and actually went and ran 150 laps at Rockingham first day in a stock car, and after that it was just like, what's next? So we went and did that, and I got into a Legends car, ran Legends at the winter heat, and did that, wrecked a lot of stuff. Went and did the Winter Nationals and Legends. I probably raced the Legend car, I'd say about 50 times around that. And then we decided that I should probably get into a bigger car because of my age. I didn't want to get too far behind the curve, and I got right into a UARA car and started racing that. And I ran UARA in 2008, about, I think it was 13 starts we made, and made some top 10 finishes, and kind of got my feet wet, and I really liked the big cars, and I got my first big opportunity in 2009. I got to run a Pro Cup car with Turner Motorsports, back in their infancy stage. It was just James Busher and I, and now they're a lot bigger team. But I got to run with them, and that was an amazing opportunity for myself to go run pit stops and do all that stuff. That really helped me. And now here I am. I'm running ARCA this year, and that's just been an amazing opportunity in itself. I had been sitting on the sidelines for a very long time because of funding. Funding is a big deal now these days, and I didn't really race that much the past 2 years. And I got an amazing opportunity with Zaloop, and they've really taken me under the wing and used me as their banner driver for the ARCA Racing Series and beyond. I'm actually racing not only the full ARCA Racing Series, but I also am going to make 3 K&N starts this year at the biggest races they go to, so I'll get to run that a little bit as well, and actually make my first starts in NASCAR under their banner in the K&N Series. But it's been a lot of fun. I got a long road ahead of me, and I think it's going to be a really good year this year.
Now, the K&N Series start you mentioned, is that going to be also involved with Venerini, or is that going to be with Turner Scott or another team out of your own pocket, or how's that going to work? Because I know Venerini is such a staple in the ARCA racing community.
Venerini, it will be with them. We'll be running 3 K&N races, Bristol, Dover, and Rockingham, actually. I'm going to run the K&N car with them, and we're going to do the whole full ARCA deal, as everybody pretty much already knows now, and K&N. And, there's some possibilities for me to run other stuff, but I really, really want to concentrate on the ARCA stuff this year, and that's my main focus. I don't want anything to detract from that, and that's the reason why I'm making only 3 K&N starts. The schedules really don't mesh very well with each other, and I want to make sure my focus is 100% on this ARCA championship and my pursuit of it.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch in. As Josh, as you know from talking to our guys, we've seen guys come up through the ranks plenty of times, and wishing you the best of luck. And you guys are doing great. If you don't mind, we have about 30 seconds until our next commercial break. If you want to hang on till the next segment, talk about disabled racers a little bit more, and maybe take some phone calls.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to hang out.
All right, Josh, take us to break, my friend.
Yeah, we will be back here on the ETV Live Pit Report. Again, real quick, we're at ETV Pit Report on Twitter. Also follow these guys at Justin M. Boston and at ARGman252. We will be back here on the HD Radio Network right after this.
Hi, I'm Angela Hall, CEO for Halls on Post Incorporated. We are the premier income tax preparers to the sim racing community. You sim racers know that where you live is not a barrier to working with others. So please do not let your local income tax prep stores hijack you into paying their expensive fees up front by taking them right out of your refund. Here at Halls on Post, we do things a lot differently. We will prepare your return, review it with you, e-file it, and release your file copy, and you will not have to pay in advance for any of these services. Sim racers, please believe me when I tell you that we are the only tax practice out there that will allow you to pay after you receive your refund. The only catch is this: you promise me that when your refund arrives, you will make Halls on Post Incorporated the very first check you write. So make the switch to Halls on Post Inc. We will hop right on it and treat you respectfully, discreetly, and fairly. No gimmicks and no hidden fees.
Welcome back to the ETV Pit Report. We are here with ARCA racing driver Justin Boston and DisabledRacers.com founder Aaron Grosskopf. Kyle, having a great time talking with these guys here. I think we're just going to continue to expand on Justin's 2013 plans, I believe.
Yeah, if you just want to emphasize, and I know because we try to, Justin and how Aaron, how you guys met through iRacing, and with this show, because we're sim racers ourselves, and we try to emphasize or try to bring the relation back and forth from sim racing to real racing. And Justin, I know you mentioned before about how you practice on iRacing on your off season, especially. Just talk about how you relate sim racing to either your late model or your K&N car or ARCA car.
It's very similar. and it's very different in all the same reasons. The only difference that's fundamental is that you're actually not in the car and getting those forces. But as far as the tracks and cars and everything, it's pretty spot on. And when you need to go to a new track, as you know, going to New Smyrna, from running New Smyrna down at Speed Weeks in a little more than a week, to go in and run 100 laps in New Smyrna before you even get there, that's just seat time that's invaluable to a driver. And to have that in your arsenal is just, it's an edge up on anybody else who doesn't have it. It's so critical to have.
And I know with New Smyrna and just doing the whole week down there, how's that going to be on you? I'm sure it's going to be tiring to run. I mean, to have all your efforts focused on the ARCA race, that's like a 2 or 3 day show for you guys between practice, qualifying, and a race on Saturday, and then after that you're going to run a whole week at New Smyrna right down the road. Yeah,
actually, it's kind of fortunate because we do have 3 days worth of track time for the ARCA event, and one of Zaloop's other drivers is actually going to fill in for the first 4 races and run the first 4 nights in New Smyrna in the super late model, and then I'm going to take over for the latter part of their speed weeks. So I'm going to go run the last 4 days, and he's going to run the first 4 days when I'm running the ARCA car at Daytona.
Now, also, too, have you, I know there was at least 1 or 2 ARCA tests. Have you participated in any of the tests yet for ARCA?
I've participated in the Daytona test, and I know there's been a test at Talladega. We did not go to that. We didn't really feel like we needed to. We were bad fast when we went down there to Daytona for the test, so we didn't really think that we needed to go to Talladega.
Now, was that your first time in an ARCA car too, or have you tested before at all?
I've tested Kentucky with Wintron when I was running with Turner. I went and ran there. I did a test with him, with James and their whole program there when they were running in ARCA. He actually won that race after we tested there in 09. And then I've also tested Daytona, and I've tested with Venerini at Motor Mile. So I've done a short track test, and that was kind of one that I really wanted to go do to really see what the differences was between the Pro Cup car and the ARCA car. Really, it's pretty close to the Pro Cup car, but you still have 250 odd horsepower gains there. So it wasn't that big of a difference, but since I've been running late models, I got into the late model after the Pro Cup car. It was kind of an adjustment. But I've done testing as well at Daytona before I went down to the test this past year. So I've had experience at Daytona, but it was all thrown out the window because when I went down there last, it was the old pavement configuration.
So how much? All right, since you ran on both surfaces, this kind of brings up a good point. Leading up to Speed Weeks, we've been talking a lot about Daytona, just with different stuff that's going down on the track and different events and stuff. That surface was so beat up with the bumps, and I think we all really saw that in the 500 a couple years ago with the pothole. How big of a difference is the track? Is it really night and day from the old pavement to the new pavement, or can you still relate some of those old characteristics to the new track?
It's totally night and day. That track's a different Daytona. It's before, you felt like you're on a roller coaster going through 1 and 2 in the bottom because there's just so much travel. And then now it's just like the highway. You could, while I was testing, this is a good point, there's a lot of air traffic, and when we're testing by ourselves, single car runs, you go out and make 2 laps, come in, 2 laps, come in. I was remembering just watching these airplanes come into land going down the backstretch because you have 15 seconds almost on the backstretch, if give or take some more or less, but I just could remember it's really like taking a highway drive now. And before, the corners, you were kind of, you had to pay attention because of how much travel and everything was going on. Now it's like nothing.
Now, my last question for you before we head back over and talk more with Aaron, referring to the racing at Daytona, you guys are still running the traditional Twisted Sister body that the Cup cars used to run back in 06, 07 and beforehand. And I think it was either last year or the year before, I know in the drivers' meeting, they told the ARCA guys, we don't want you to do any of that tandem drafting or anything like that, at least in the turns. Do you expect to see anything like that at the end? Can these old cars, can they handle that? And how do you expect the racing to be compared maybe like to the Cup Series or the Nationwide race later on in the week?
It's going to be a lot more single file for the first half of the race, guaranteed, just because the way those cars match up. It's pretty crazy how they work in the draft, but when you get a car length behind another car, you really have to work to get up to that car to push on them. Just the way the aerodynamics work between one car to another. You'll see a lot of single car drafting. You won't see much out of the second groove until at least the half of the race. The bumpers don't really match up. I think we'll be able to do something on the backstretch, and then coming to the tribal, and then coming into turn one if we're pushing at all. But if the person in front makes any darting move, they're going to be done for. It's just the way the cars are designed, and that's how they've been. But I think with the right experienced guys put together, you could see something maybe happen. But I don't see anyone taking that risk till at least 3 to go.
And
it's going to be very conservative.
Yeah, I would imagine so, especially in the ARCA races seem notorious for multi-car incidents. So I think the first half, like I said, with staying single file is just going to be about surviving, too, until the end to give you a chance to win.
Absolutely.
And then with Aaron, who's been waiting down there ever so patiently, we've just been talking about Justin running the real car. And I know, unfortunately, that you're limited to your what you can drive, and you were saying with iRacing how you have the hand control. What are the chances of maybe seeing you in a car one day, maybe like a Legends car or a go-kart sometime down the road?
Well, I mean, with Justin running a go-kart track, the go-kart's probably more likely than anything. I just got to figure out the system that I need to get to have it like I have it for iRacing. But, I mean, NASCAR really doesn't allow anybody that's disabled to race in any of their series. So, I mean, who knows what will hold down the road, with advances in technology and stuff like that. But as of right now, it's just iRacing when I can afford to. And,
Right, and I know we were talking before how you're trying to raise awareness for disabled racers through your website, but what is the ultimate goal? Are you taking donations? Are you starting any type of charity? Or are you just kind of like trying to get the word out there and just say, look, this is where we're at, this is what people need to know, and these are the next steps that we could make to try to raise awareness to build something better for the future?
Yeah, well, with disabled racers, it's all the money, the little bit of money I get each month, which isn't barely anything. That I'm using what I can to put it in the site. I wanted to say, while I got a chance to, I want to thank Everett Lentz from Lentz Creative, who offered to do the site and pay for the domain for absolutely free. And basically, the sites are going to run off people, helping us out, helping us fund it until we can get something to generate some money, because we can't take donations right now because I have to do some stuff for the IRS. But we're hoping that we could get to where we could sell shirts and hats or whatever we can to make money, so we could put on maybe real events and iRacing events down the road.
Well, I could promise you, if you make and I'm speaking for Josh too, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners, you put some an apparel line out there, we'll be first in line to buy some stuff to support the cause. This is a great cause you have
Absolutely.
going on here. And for sure, any type of iRacing events, I'll be there too. I know, Josh, as long as we could make it, you can't put a price tag on putting money towards a good cause, I feel.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, to get more information, go to disabledracers.com, on Twitter at disabledracers, and on Facebook as well. And for Justin, you can follow him on Twitter at Justin M. Boston. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming out here. We definitely appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck with disabledracers.com, Aaron, and best of luck to you, Justin, on your ARCA adventures this year.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it from you.
Awesome, guys. And that is Justin Boston and Aaron Goskov for this week's special guest on the ETV Live Pit Report. Always a pleasure to have our guest on. So let's talk about segment 4. Josh, you have to check out on us, unfortunately, but Mr. Casey Pierce, our guest from week number 1, will come to the rescue.
Yes, I will have to check out here shortly. So I do appreciate all of our listeners here for our 3rd week here on the Pit Report. It's been a good ride. Hopefully we can get this built up more and more. Also, too, we are featured on YouTube. If you don't happen to be able to catch us, on TuneIn Radio on your way home or something like that, or can't get us online, you can go to YouTube. We can try and get the links out there on the ETV Live Facebook page and also on Twitter. But basically, it's on demand, so you can go on there, listen to us each and every week, and hopefully we can get some more NASCAR guests down the road. I'm trying to get somebody here for us, hopefully here in the next few weeks. But like Kyle said, I will be out of here for the rest of the show. So again, follow me on Twitter at Josh_Gerlach, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, and we'll be right back here on the ETV Live Pit Report, powered by the HD Radio Network.
We work hand in hand with professionals throughout real-world racing to provide technology and fabrication industry's highest level of unmatched quality. Made in the USA, people. Check them out today. Your place for your highest gaming simulation standard, www.GorillaCustoms.com.
Team Racing Series returns to ETV Live on Tuesday nights following the Fast Track Racing Series radio show. After organizing a highly successful team series in 2010, Jerry Wolf is back with some kick butt, take no prisoners, team racing action like you have never seen before. The ETV Live Team Racing Series is sponsored by HD Radio Network, live on Tuesday nights from 9 p.m. Eastern. Don't wimp out, dude. Catch the action live at etv-eplay.net. Sponsored by Barbaro Racing, VRC Virtual Racing Chassis, Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series returns to ETV Live in 2013 every Monday night, 9:20 p.m. Eastern. A full 36-week season. Join Mike Keaton and Wesley Allen as they call the action from the booth, and Dakota Ehrman reporting from Pit Road. Strap in and buckle down, cowboy. 2013 Full Throttle Cup Series on Monday night is back in the saddle again. Flag-to-flag coverage provided by ETV Live, the only choice for your online racing broadcast entertainment. See us at etv-eplay.net.
Back here at 13 past the hour on the ETV Live Pit Report on the HD Radio Network, presented by Halls on Post. For all your tax and accounting services, visit hallsonpost.com. Tax season's coming right up, and Casey Pierce, you made it back after our good friend Josh Gerlach. He ditched the show. What the hell, man?
Yeah, he tends to do that a lot. I don't know. I think he had a family deal come up tonight or something, so I'm gonna fill in for him here this last segment.
Yeah, we'll excuse him on that note. Phone lines wide open. 1-317-489-9388. We'll answer any racing-related questions. Tweet to me at K_Tarasca or at the ETV Pit Report. If you want to contact us, questions, concerns, anything like that. This segment we're going to talk about, which I think is a good segment for Casey, because as for our listeners who listened in week 1, he races at Hickory Motor Speedway, the limited late model. So he knows all about racing and the business side of it and the amount of money. And I'm sure we could have asked Justin in the last segment too. But NASCAR initiated to reformat the purses for the positions 39 through 43 for this year. And the payouts will incrementally be $4,000 less than the position ahead of them this year to try to discourage racers to do start and park. Casey, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, financially, I think it's going to hurt the start and park team, obviously. So, I mean, it's not good for them, but I guess NASCAR feels that that's what they need to do to help the competition. I mean, if that's what it's going to do, then that's fine. But, I mean, I don't know how it will affect car counts in the future.
Hello?
Area code 1615. You are on the air with the ETV Pit Report.
Oh, sorry.
Or maybe you're not. Okay. That works, but we got Josh Gerlach. You're on the phone.
We do. I want to thank Casey Pierce for coming out for me tonight.
Yeah, well, at least you're still on. I guess that works too. You could just do it off your phone, so it's like week 1 all over again. But now But now it's my show, Mr. Kyle.
Well, actually, I just wanted to call in and let you guys know I'm actually listening on the HD Radio Network on TuneIn Radio.
Well,
I have the iPhone app, and you can get that on the App Store.
Well, we appreciate that you are supporting your own show that you left us behind, Mr. Josh Gerlach.
I am.
We appreciate that. So here, well, while you're on, why don't you talk? We just started talking about Starting Park before you, since you're listening on the radio. What's your opinion of the Starting Park? Obviously, Casey has said it's going to, with the positions 39 through 43 this year in the Cup Series, the payouts are going to be incrementally $4,000 less than the position ahead of them to try to discourage Starting Park racing to get these guys to run the whole races. What's your opinion of that?
Totally agree. I think they should go more. I totally understand the thought process behind starting and parking, but it's something that needs to be taken care of. I understand the economic environment that we're in, but I like what NASCAR is doing.
And I see both sides of the argument, and for whatever reason, not to get off topic, that last call, I don't know who the hell that was. That was very random and awkward, but that's what live radio is for you folks. Anyway.
It's live.
It is live. Damn right. I think they have a good purpose, but here's how I look at it. If they did this 3 or 4 years ago, there probably wouldn't be a Tommy Baldwin racing right now. See, the problem is you got the bad eggs in there that are trying to spoil the party, just in there to make money. But then you have the guys that actually want to go out there and race. I'm sure. I mean, you'd be lying to yourself if you told me a couple years ago that Tommy Baldwin he wanted to park his cars just to collect a paycheck. If he had the money to run the full race, he would have. And he had to start and park to stay alive in the sport. And look, now they're going to be a 2-car operation this year in 2013.
Yeah, it's great. And as I was walking out of my home, I about killed myself on the ice. So be careful.
Yeah, I heard that. We heard it. Yeah.
Yep. So. Yeah, anyway, I do want to wish you luck, Casey. You can take over from here. I really appreciate it. And make sure to tune in on TuneIn Radio.
All right, Josh. Be safe out there. And that is Josh Gerlach, who was just on the show, then he left the show, then he called the show, and now he left the show again. So Casey Pierce, to continue on what we were talking about, like what I was just saying with Tommy Baldwin, if they did this 3 or 4 years ago, which I don't think people realize it, there probably wouldn't be a Tommy Baldwin racing right now.
Well, I mean, I think that's the worry going forward. How does the teams develop? There's a team now that is in that similar situation that he was 2 or 3 years ago. And I guess the big question is, how much does that affect them? I mean, will there be able to be new teams that can come into the sport? Because, I mean, eventually, big-name teams are either gonna go away or they're going to go to somebody else. Like Hendrick and Joe Gibbs, if NASCAR's still here in 50 years, which I'm sure will be, then there's obviously different teams. The money aspect of it's kind of it's worrisome because I like to know how can new teams get into the Sprint Cup Series, because I don't see it being such an easy task.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, for the integrity of the sport, we get, like you said, in 50 years, we got to make sure the sport's still here in 50 years and that it's left in good hands, because we're all going to the big racetrack in the sky one day, and when we go there, there's going to be other racetracks down here that we got to worry about, and I think that this may hurt the future of the sport by them trying to discourage starting parks. I mean, granted, if the economy gets better and more sponsors want to be involved, then obviously that will be a big help, and not as many teams would have to start and park. But all right, we have a couple of call-ins now. I think we have the same call-in from before. I don't think I'm going to answer that one, but we'll take this one here. Here we go. Area code 702. You're on the air with the ETV Live Pit Report. Hello?
Hi. Hi.
Oh, hello. You're on air with the Pit Report. What's your question?
I'm wondering how the new Cup car is going to be for 2013.
Well, honestly, I don't think for my personal opinion, I don't think the racing is going to change that much. It's the same chassis that the Cup teams they've been running for a couple of years now. And even though the bodies are different, I think aerodynamically there's going to be a big difference. But at least, Casey, you could emphasize more on it because you're the real racer here. But I think at least for the beginning part of the year, it's going to be similar to what we've seen, especially on 1.5 mile tracks. And I think it's going to take a couple of years before the new car develops into the spectacular show that NASCAR wants to portray it as.
I mean, based on the testing that I've heard and I've seen some at Charlotte, there's quite. I mean, the way that they get the car to go fast is a lot different. So I don't know I really don't know if I see a major difference. But I can promise you, way they set cars up is quite a bit different. There's some, I mean, they're not 100% different. There's a lot of similarities, but there's some things that they've changed that are pretty major in terms of like how to get mechanical grip and the aero side of it. So, I mean, all that is different. But I don't know that it's going to change the way the race looks as a fan, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, as a fan, what do you expect for the racing this year? Like, what do you want to see watching it on TV, or either on TV or at the track?
Well, I mean, what I consider a good race is different than what a lot of fans do. A lot of fans want to see wrecks and they want to see action, which is fine. But personally, I just like to see races that there's longer runs, but they stay closer together. I think at a lot of the mile and a half tracks, there's so much disparity between the teams that are good and the teams that are bad, and I would just like to see that close up, which I don't think it will. But I mean, I think it's going to be a really exciting year because a lot of it's a new year. We're all, all the teams started even. And I think it's going to be different than last year because of that. I don't think you're going to see the same team that dominated last year do the same thing again this year. I think it's going to be a lot different.
And that's pretty much our preview. We appreciate your call, and hopefully we answered your question. All right, now we have another caller here. And nope, no, we just lost her. So the phone lines, they are wide open again. And that caller hit an interesting point, just wondering what the new car is going to do this year. There is a lot of unknown. I remember listening to the radio. Now we have the new caller, as I bring our caller in. Hello, you're on the air with the ETV Live Pit Report. What's your name and what's your question?
My name is Christian, and my question is, I don't get why they need starting parts. Just run the darn race.
Well, Casey, you could talk about this a little bit more, but see, a lot of fans, they misunderstand that NASCAR, yes, it's a sport, but it's a business. Casey, and with sponsorship and other stuff like that, the sponsors are just not out there like how they were 10 years ago. And I remember I interviewed Scott Stenzel for a personal requirement earlier in the year, and he was saying that back in the day, sponsors used to come up to you wanting to put their logo on the car. Nowadays, you have to go search for the sponsor, and it's crazy. I mean, just to think that the biggest star, Dale Jr., has 13 races available on his car this year, it's like unfathomable, to even think about that. And if these sponsors aren't there to fund the teams and there's no money, the teams, they can't afford the tire bill or whatever, the equipment to run a full 400 or 500 miles. Casey?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just the financial aspect of it. I mean, and I think the fans, a lot of times, I didn't even grasp it until I got into the sport, is how much it costs at the Sprint Cup Series level to run one race. I mean, it's $250,000 to $400,000 for a starting park team. That's not for Hendrick Motorsports or other teams. It's very, very expensive, and if they don't have the funding to run the full race, then they can't do it. And the reason they starting park is so they can build funds to run longer and longer races, but it takes that long to build that up. Like we brought up the team Tommy Baldwin Racing. That's what they did for 2 years, and they continued to actually make money to where to get to the point to run races and run longer into the race. I mean, that's the reason they do it, is to make money. So that's why you hear us talking about, well, what's it going to do to the future of the sport if they lower the payout to the starting park position, basically. And as they take away money from those teams, it's going to be harder for newer teams to get into the sport. So basically, if you're not already involved in the sport, I really don't see how other teams are going to get into it without sponsorship. It's impossible, basically. I think if they take away the starting park, it's really good for the sport.
I see, but just like with my real legend car that I raced, you gotta either be rich or have really good skill.
Well, I think nowadays it's more about being rich than having a skill. If you have any type, if you have, especially at the Sprint Cup level, if you have any type of Fortune 500 company that wants to back you, most teams would put you in their car at this point. But let me ask you, I know you said you race Legends, but as a fan of NASCAR, going to races, does it bother you that do you feel gypped out that you go to a show and you see 43 cars race, and then you see one guy come in and after 16 laps and he parks it? Like, do you feel gypped, or does not even bother you? Like, do you even take notice to that while you're watching the race?
It bothers me because when there'll be a guy that's not fast enough to race and he didn't qualify in, but he wanted to run the whole race and they just want to park it. So it's kind of not right.
Right, and I understand what you're saying as a cause, but I mean, every sport has their bad teams. Baseball has Astros and the Cubs. The NFL has the Rams, and people just don't pay attention to them. As a Dale Jr. fan, when I go to a race, I go to watch Dale Jr. I want him, even though it never happens. But I want him. I go to a race to watch him win. I want to be there for him to win a race. I want to see a good race up in the front. When I go to, and it's either Dale Jr. or the lead that I'm watching. I don't worry about who's running 43rd, 42nd. And I mean, even think about it. We would have to look it up just to see who finished 43rd in the race at Homestead a while back, because it's irrelevant. No one cares. And I just think it's going to hurt the sport in the long run, because it's not like that these cars are taking spots away really from many other drivers, because there's not that many teams out there. There's only 40 or 45 teams out there for 43 spots. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's just really not politics, but there's a couple of guys that I race against in real Latin cars, and they're rich, so their kids are all moving up to late models, and it's kind of makes you jealous because just because their daddy's rich doesn't mean that they got skill. Some NASCAR drivers don't even have skill, but they have their daddy paying them to go win.
Yeah, that's times. I mean, Casey, he'll tell, right? You could tell him firsthand. That's just how the times are right now.
Well, I think that's going to hurt the future of sport too. I mean, if you don't have a new talent tournament, whatever. That's just that's how it is. I mean, I live here in North Carolina, racing history, and I see that all the time where it doesn't really matter about skill, honestly, because if I'm in a bad car, then how can I, how am I going to be able to prove over a guy that has a better car than me that I can drive better? Although that's not the case this year, but in the past I've had to deal with that. So, I mean...
I see what you mean.
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I hate that happens, but that's what racing is now. Unlike any other sport, like if I have the talent in basketball or baseball, usually I can go to college and move on to the pro level if I'm good enough. Most of the time. That's just not how driving a race car works. I mean, it's a lot of political stuff and a lot of, just a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with actually getting on the track to drive the race car.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I was really pretty much answering my question. I just really wish there wouldn't be those, because when I was like 10, going to a NASCAR race, there was no starting parts. I mean, it was 43 cars were racing. Everybody had a shot. Now it's 10 guys got a shot. All the other ones, just go ahead and park it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but times are changing. I mean, that's just how. If the economy wasn't in the tanker right now, then I'm sure we wouldn't see that. But we appreciate your call, and we appreciate that you're listening. Hope we answered your question. And so to continue on that, with the call-in, there's nothing you could do. You have teams like the Furniture Row. I mean, they were a starting park a while back, and now they've built up. I mean, they have Kurt Busch now as their driver. I mean, there's teams that are in the sport now that are starting parking in order to build for the future. And like we said, I know we could touch more on this next week, but we have one more call in, and we'll then close the show out. All right, welcome to the Pit Report. You have about 30 seconds. What's your question?
Is this Carl?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we have you on the Pit Report. You got about 25, 30 seconds here before we got to close the show out, if we could answer your question.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I was the opinion of the starting parks. I kind of think it's a good idea of getting it out, because, I could come out there and somebody beat me by a tenth, and they be a starting park when they're only going to do 4 laps, and I race the whole race, and, me get a chance to win, but I qualify a tenth behind, I won't be able to get it.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, but like I just told you, I mean the times are changing. But
the thing I want to say is, I mean, if that team's qualifying a tenth slower, then they're just gonna, like, that's one race. Like, if there's qualifying a tenth slower, then they're gonna have to pick up their stand. Like, they're gonna have to pick up their performance. Yeah, and I don't want to cut you guys off, but what really got the show's about to close out. We got about 20 seconds to commercial, so we appreciate your call in this week. The starting park is a big issue at NASCAR. We'll emphasize more on it next week. Halls on Post, Justin Boston, Aaron Groskoff, and the HD Radio Network, of course. And for Casey Pierce, I am Kyle Taraska, and we'll catch you next week here, 7:30 Eastern, on the ETV Live Pit Report, powered by the HD Radio Network.